I am really looking forward to today's conversation. I have the privilege of talking to Dan Stapleton. Dan is the CEO of American Title and Closing, and today we are going to talk about the timeshare industry, the timeshare business, as well as how Canadians can potentially get out of timeshares. Dan, welcome to the webinar. Where are you talking to me from today?
I'm actually in my office in Southern California. We have
Excellent.
three locations. We're in Whitefish, Montana, Marietta, California, and Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And I'd like to say thank you, Marshall, for having me on today.
Yeah, you bet. So you and we met in Puerto Vallarta maybe 3 years ago, and I had the privilege of picking your brain about the industry. And you have an inside perspective because not only did you work in the hotel industry in Mexico, you now have a very interesting business. So can we first kick off the conversation on what your career looked like at the beginning and how you transitioned from a life, full-time in the United States to living in two countries?
Yeah, sure, Marshall. That's an interesting story. My wife Jenny and I, we had gotten engaged, gone on a vacation to Puerto Vallarta. We had purchased a timeshare there.
Yeah.
Typical tourists on vacation, approached, a couple of free rounds of golf. You don't have to buy anything. $10,000 later, we bought our first timeshare, well, first and only, and didn't work out real well, but it did get us back to Mexico the next year.
Okay.
And so they invited us on another presentation, and of course we went. I was very interested. I want to buy pretty much everything that I see, and my wife, the one that holds me back, and we ended up not buying that one. But we walked out of there with her noticing the Cartier and Rolex watches, the Gucci shoes, and the Robert Graham shirts that all these salespeople are wearing.
Yeah.
And she said, Dan, you're a great salesperson. You would have done a better job than that guy did.
Yeah.
And she wanted to have a baby. I think it really all went back to the fact that she wanted to spend 4 months in Mexico on her maternity leave while I worked.
Why not? That sounds like a great deal.
Well, I owned a landscape business, so we were closed in the winter in Wisconsin.
Okay.
So she came up with this idea that we'd get pregnant right away so that we could go back the next winter and spend the winter there, and I would sell timeshare. Well, long story short, that turned into a 13-year career as a timeshare salesperson, very quickly a timeshare manager, a general manager, and then a project director, which is an individual that runs the entire sales force. So I really saw everything behind the scenes in timeshare, including how we got our leads, how we paired the people that went on the presentation with the salespeople that we put with them. And it's actually there's a lot of thought that goes into a timeshare presentation.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, let's try to be fair here. I have a bias, and I'm going to fight this bias to first give credit to the idea that somebody who buys this timeshare needs it, wants it, and it's a good deal. Give me the scenario of somebody that should buy a timeshare and will likely be happy with owning that particular vacation experience.
Well, I obviously have the same bias, but there are people that it works for. And being in the industry for as long as I was and meeting as many timeshare owners as I did, there is a huge number of people that own timeshares that are very happy with them, that love going back every year.
Yeah.
If someone wants to know, they want consistency in knowing what they're going to get when they go on their vacation as far as their accommodations go. they want to end up opening the door to the room and saying, "Oh gosh, I don't want to stay here."
Hmm.
Um, that you know what you're going to get
Yeah.
if they want to have a kitchen so that they can cook in, and they want to have a living room so that they can maybe watch Monday Night Football with the family with enough bedrooms.
Yeah.
They have room for everybody. Obviously Airbnb and VRBO are starting to cut into that timeshare market a bit.
Hmm.
Um, but it used to be that all we had was a hotel room.
Yeah.
Um, and when you've got a 2 and a 4-year old, it's not always the greatest vacation with you and your wife and the 2 and 4-year old all in the same room together. So
That's
there
it.
are,
So somebody that's like always wanting to vacation in the same place, or in a particular style of hotel, is going to lock in on the time that they can go on vacation. Prepaying for your vacation via timeshare might be an okay idea, potentially.
yes, like I said, there's a good number of people that it works perfectly for.
Yeah.
I'm staying away from citing examples of specific timeshare resorts, but there's
Hmm.
no question that some resorts have a much higher percentage of happy owners than
Yep.
others. And
Interesting.
and that's due to the fact that some timeshare resort property developers and these project directors, they focus more on having a high satisfaction of their member base
Yeah.
than selling more to their members.
Yeah.
Where there's others that focus the most, their number one objective is upgrading their members to a larger package.
Hmm.
And that, without question, is going to create an unhappy member base because happy members don't upgrade.
There you go. So let me just tell you quickly. I was involved in a presentation. I took the bait to come into what would you have called this? Like an intro meeting, or
Presentation.
um, a presentation. Okay, so
Time
they
share.
offered access to the spa for my partner and I, and all we needed to do is come in for an hour. And I was looking at this, the time of an hour versus like the amount of money that you would need to spend to get access to the spa. Like that's a pretty good trade-off.
That's exactly
Well,
what the design of
yeah,
it is. I
yeah. So
took
we
two
show
rounds of
up.
15 holes. It was
Yeah,
$400 value, and 90 minutes of my time is worth $400. We all do it.
yeah, yeah. So there I was having breakfast with a salesperson. And then, that was 45 minutes to an hour. And then we get back into into a sales room where there's multiple people going about their conversation. And, this took like at least 3 hours out of my and my partner's morning. And it got to the place where I was like needing to be very, very short with the people to get my credit card and my driver's license back into my possession so I could go on and enjoy the rest of my then 9 days of my 10-day vacation. So they got us on day one. They, yeah, definitely stole a bunch of hours out of my day. I definitely learned my lesson. I will never do that again in terms of going to a
Well,
presentation. But
Marshall, the the reason why you basically fell exactly into the trap that they set. They're
mm,
looking for people that will barter their time for money, because
yeah,
that's a mathematic decision by a logical thinker to think,
yeah,
okay, this $400 spa treatment is worth 60 minutes.
hmm,
They know it's going to go on for hours. You don't know that, but that exact same personality trait that made you go on the presentation is what they're going to use to get you to buy the program, because
hmm,
that logical thinking, dollars and cents. You're going to put together 25 years I'm going to vacation left in my lifetime. I'm going to go 2 weeks a year. This is how much I would normally spend for a hotel room. This is how much I would spend for this much more beautiful room. So it's a logical decision to say
hmm,
yes. So
hmm.
it goes all the way back to the very beginning of getting invited on the presentation, of using your logic to get you to make that decision. And
Talk to
almost
me about the talk to me about the business model now. Like, why are hotels interested in timeshare? And like, why couldn't they just be happy selling rooms by the week, constantly?
Well, the vast majority of people realize after they've purchased it that the business model of a timeshare has nothing to do with that 30,000 or 50 or $100,000 they ask for when you first sign up.
Mhm.
Most people think that's what it costs to buy the timeshare, and they're right. That is what it costs to buy the timeshare. But the maintenance fees over time are where you're really going to feel the pain.
Mhm.
And these developers that own these timeshare resorts are not looking for your $25,000. They're looking for that reoccurring residual income year after year after year. For example, Marshall, I'll just use a, a one bedroom condominium in Canada, let's say, pick a town, Calgary.
Okay.
Uh, if I bought a condominium,
Yeah.
one bedroom,
Yeah.
what's my monthly HOA?
That's the condo fees. Is
Yeah,
that's what you're getting at? Oh
yeah.
boy, that's you're putting me on the spot a little bit here, but can I just guess that it's between $300 and $400?
Okay, let's say that it's 500 because it's a
Okay.
nice round number. It's $6,000 a year.
Okay.
So $6,000 divided by 52 weeks. Do the math on that. You're paying about $100 a week.
Mhm.
You build that same exact condominium and you turn it into a timeshare, and you can charge 800, 900, $1,000 a year to somebody that gets 1 week. So
Mhm.
why does it cost $1,000 a week to maintain a timeshare one bedroom unit, but it only costs $100 a week to maintain a full time residential condo unit? It doesn't. They both
Mhm.
get painted the same number of times. The sidewalks crack the same number of times. Everything is the same,
Yeah.
but there's $900 a week in profit built into the timeshare.
Got it.
The business model of timeshare is to get your maintenance fee every year and to collect it from 50 people a year.
Okay. Talk to me about like what you saw in terms of the tactics to get people excited about timeshare as as something to buy their vacations through.
That's a great topic. Um, Unfortunately, 90% of the tactics to get someone to say yes and say, I want to do this is a financial pitch.
Mhm.
It's either rental or resale. Um, there is a way to pitch it as a savings over years and to
Mhm.
beat inflation. However, and that's a realistic pitch. You can
Right.
look at how much is the hotel room going to increase in cost over the years and compare that to the maintenance fee increase and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, it doesn't just beam in your face saying buy this. But
Right.
when somebody's told it's going to go up in value like your home does, and you're going to buy it for $20,000, and your kids will be able to sell it for $100,000 because its property value has gone up. And
Mhm.
when you don't use it, you can rent it out and make a profit. These are unrealistic sales pitches, but unfortunately, they're far too common.
Interesting. Yeah. Do you see people selling timeshares for anything that would be higher than what they bought it for? Have you like, is that typical or very abnormal?
Unfortunately, the majority of timeshares in the resale market are very, very inexpensive and they do not sell.
Yeah.
There's actually a little over 250,000 timeshares that are on the resale market. Timeshareusersgroup.com, redweek.com. You can pretty much find any deeded timeshare specifically in the United States for sale there for $1.
A
Where
dollar.
that's just somebody that they bought it, they used it a couple of times, they don't use it anymore, but they're paying that $1,000 maintenance fee every year, and
Yeah.
they know the kids are going to get stuck with it when they die because it's a deeded property, and they don't want, nobody wants to, we all want to give our kids the good things. We don't want to burden them with our poor mistakes, our poor
Yeah,
decision.
yeah. Can you
Yeah.
just repeat that for a minute? So the owner, mom, dad, they pass away. What happens to the timeshare in your experience?
Specifically, and I in order to answer that question, I have to bring up another topic, and that is the vacation club versus deeded timeshare.
Okay.
Primarily what's sold in the United States, and it's pretty much a mainly United States thing, is the deeded timeshare, where you actually physically own 1/52nd of a unit in that building.
Mm-hmm.
It started, I believe in the 60s, where you purchased week number 4 in unit 105 at Big Bear in California. And if you wanted to go skiing the 4th week of January every single year, it worked great.
Yeah.
Because you didn't need to make a reservation. You just show up and here's your keys, and you stay in the same room you do every year and you go skiing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, over time, the timeshare salespeople heard too many times from people, what if I can't go that week?
Mm-hmm.
So they came up with floating time, where you still are deeded one individual week, but there's an addendum in your contract says that you can use it any week of the year or within certain seasons. Then they started to hear too often that people would say, well, sometimes we bring the whole family, sometimes it's just the 2 of us. So they came up with a point system where you're still deeded a specific unit, a specific week at a specific resort, and you own that
Mm-hmm.
deed. However, it transfers into a certain number of points that can be used where you could stay 3 weeks in a studio or 2 weeks in a
Yeah.
1 bedroom, 1 week in a 2 bedroom.
And potentially even at a different property, Dan?
Absolutely. And all of these were designed to sell timeshare.
Mm-hmm.
They were designed to get over the objections that the salespeople were incurring in trying to sell the timeshare, but they were pitched as a reason why you should buy the timeshare. In reality, the best timeshares ever were the ones in the 60s where you knew what room you were getting and you knew you were going to get in when you wanted to go. The number one thing that we hear from people as a complaint is they can't go where they want to go when they want to go there.
Right. Interesting. So you are in the business of helping people get out of timeshares. I would imagine that you are seeing hundreds, I don't know if it's even thousands of timeshares. Have you bought any of these timeshares off of your clients that are wanting to get out?
I was tempted one time, to be honest. A vacation club for one, so it's not deeded. My kids wouldn't inherit it.
Yeah.
Secondly, you get free golf, unlimited, while you're staying there. And I thought I could definitely handle that. Yeah. Unfortunately, after looking into it, I found out that the free golf's not transferable to a second owner. So I still, after transferring literally tens of thousands of timeshares out of people's names, I do not own a timeshare.
Interesting. So talk to us a little bit about like the idea of the upgrade. I've known, and I do know people that have bought timeshares and then been enticed into expanding their ownership. Why does that happen? Like, what's going on with regards to the goalposts and what services timeshare owners get access to?
Well, again, that goes back to the developer and his point of view of what does he want, a whole bunch of happy owners, or he just want a whole lot more sales? In most cases they want more sales, and happy owners don't buy more.
So in other words, there may be an incentive for the ownership group to make their owners unhappy in order for them to buy more units so they can get into a better pool or a better suite.
Well, Marshall, you have to think about what the number one thing is in sales and marketing. It's by having a person to talk to.
Yeah. And
the one thing they have is an isolated group of people that are their members that are going to come back year after year after year. They create their own lead generation system to put people in front of their salespeople. But if those people are perfectly happy with what they own, they're not going to buy anything more. So now they have a resort full of rooms that are full of people that are perfectly happy, and they're not going to buy anything.
Yeah.
So
that's not good enough. No. Got to upset the apple cart here, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. You need to have the people wanting something that they don't have. And there's
Mhm.
two ways to do that. One of them is to make it so that you need more points to get the same room the following year.
Yeah.
Decrease the value of a point
Yeah.
or increase how many points it requires to get that same size unit.
Yeah.
That's obviously that's
Create
going to affect.
scarcity. Yeah. Create scarcity in the areas of the hotel that you now can't get into, or the part of the beach or the part of the pool that you are no longer in the club for, right?
Exactly the carrot. And the most effective way to do that is to have a program where you can't stay in the East Village because you own the West Village, which was built, in the 80s. But we're going to
Yeah.
show you a room in the East Village that we built last week, and it's
Yeah.
amazing. And then we're going to take that room that you saw on your presentation and put it on Expedia and Hotwire and sell it for $150 a night to fill it up with people that just bought off the internet that don't even own at that resort. And then
Yeah.
we're going to put you in the same pool with them, having a beer, talking to some guy, and he's going to say, "Hey, do you want me to go and grab you another beer? My room's right there." And you're
And
paying
like you paid
$2,000.
$80,000 for the room, and he's paying $150 a night. Not
And he can
fair.
walk 10 feet out of the pool and get a beer, and you're 20 minutes from and two golf cart rides from your room.
That's amazing. Okay,
That's the
let's
guy
talk a little bit about
that
how do you get out?
and I've seen this
What's that?
100 times. That's a guy that walks into the sales room, storming
Yeah.
mad,
Okay.
wanting to tell off his salesperson from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And 3 hours later, he walks out of the sales room perfectly happy, happy as could be, after spending another $30,000.
Yeah. Amazing. Tell me about your business. And just as a quick word of caution, I'm not endorsing your business, but I do want to know more about what you do in terms of helping your clients get out of these contracts, and tell us how it works.
Well, my wife and I saw an increasing number of people every year that were coming on timeshare presentations, and I specifically want to state, not they didn't own a vacation club where they paid as they went and they weren't deeded in it. They were deeded into a timeshare in the United States where they had to pay that maintenance fee whether they used it or not every year,
Yeah.
and it was deeded property, so their kids are going to inherit it whether they want it or not. And they didn't want to stop paying the maintenance fees because they didn't want to ruin their credit. They really
Yeah.
felt stuck.
Yeah.
And we wanted to start to, for academic reasons for our children, we wanted to relocate to to California, to Southern California. And so we needed to get into some other business. I didn't want to sell American-based timeshare because I would be a hypocrite. So we made affiliations with a couple of different timeshare law firms, specifically that dealt with timeshares. These firms charge upwards of $7,000-8,000 to get someone a timeshare canceled for someone. We made agreements with them to give us an extremely large discount based on the amount of volume that we would bring to them.
Okay.
So essentially what American Title is it's a company that brings clients to these specific law firms in large quantity, and in result passes on a savings of 80 to 90%.
Interesting. Okay, so somebody's coming to your firm wanting to cancel their contract, and then you're gonna pool contracts together, and then get law firms to maybe bid on these pools of contracts.
It kind of was like that in the
Or
beginning earlier, but now it got to the point where we have enough volume that I don't have
Mhm.
to, let's say that this particular law firm specializes in XYZ resort. I don't want to say a name of a resort.
Yeah.
I don't have to wait till I have 10 of them in order to give him those 10. And I don't have to, we know what firms are the best with which resorts.
Mhm.
And we have agreements with them because of the amount of time we've been doing it, well over a decade, and the volume that we do, that this is the
Mhm.
set rate they'll give us per client because they know we're going to send them upwards of 100 clients a month.
Okay.
And therefore, instead of $7,000 per client, it's more like 700. Now that's not obviously what we charge our client. But we do come in about 90% under what they would pay if they went to the firm themselves.
Okay. So how long does it take to get out of a contract, a timeshare contract, typically?
Typically 3 to 6 months. I've had them done in 9 days. I've had them take almost a year.
Okay.
It really depends on, it depends a lot on the client. We do an estoppel, we do a limited power of attorney. These are all documents that have to be sent to the client. They have to go through regular mail. They have to be signed in front of and notarized, and then the return back to us. The turnaround time from the client has a lot to do with how long the process is going to take. We have found historically that we spend a lot more time waiting for the clients to respond with the notarized documents than, our turnaround time is usually a quick one.
Okay.
But usually, you can expect 3 to 6 months. 6 months is really an outside number.
Yeah.
We do guarantee it's done within a year.
Interesting. So, my reason for wanting to interview you, Dan, was twofold. I wanted just a chance to riff on timeshares, and I also wanted a chance for our clients to know about that there are firms that help people get out of the contracts. And I've had numbers of conversations with clients that own these things. And just to be clear, in our balance sheet and our attestations, we always value them at zero. We do not look at them as an investment. They are a pre-purchased vacation that likely has no investment value at all. So I'm hopeful that this conversation is going to help people think a little bit slower in terms of what type of vacation they want to own in the future, and for the folks that do own these things and want to stop making the maintenance payments, maybe to know that there's options. Dan, is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have in connection to this conversation, or did we cover most of the bases?
Marshall, I think you were pretty good. You're pretty spot on. You hit all of the you hit all the high points and the low points. I think the one thing that I want people to keep in mind, if you've watched this far, obviously you've got a decision to make. Timeshares can be great. They can be a great, I wouldn't say an investment. I never use the word investment. They can be a good place to put your money if you want to, if it fits just right. Unfortunately, for the vast majority, it's not a good fit, and you don't have to feel like you're stuck with it.
Yeah, very good.
There are companies like my company out there that will get you out of your timeshare, but you have to be aware, because there are also a lot of scams.
Yeah, for sure.
Any company that says that you're going to get money back, I'm not going to say that I can't speak for every company in the world, but I've been doing this for better than 20 years. And I have never, ever seen a company that will get you money for your timeshare. So if that's what they're doing, be very, very careful. Especially
great way to end.
You to pay them to get you money. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, very good. Dan is the CEO of American Title and Closing, and he works with his wife, Jenny Stapleton. So Dan and Jenny Stapleton from American Closing, I want to thank you very much for your time this morning, and wish you the best of days.
Thank you, Marshall, and thanks for having us.